we live?
I don't know. I suppose we'll find out.
If we're live, because nothing ever works the way it's supposed to anymore, it's the Boiled Sports Handsome Hour. It's Jay and Anish. Boiled Out is at an undisclosed bunker location. He's having a delicious assortment of meats and cheeses, and he'll probably get to us when he learns how to get his computer turned on. I don't know.
Exactly. There is a chance that a drop in happens, but yes, this is what we're doing. He's in an undisclosed location, putting sunscreen between his toes, I suppose.
Well, that's the last thing you want to actually have burn, I would think.
I mean, there might be a couple of regions that might come before that as last. I wouldn't go last, but
well, it depends what you're sunbathing.
Heyo.
It does appear that we're live, although no one's commenting. Which was everyone left speechless? Was everyone left with no more comments to make after Purdue?
It was
found
stunning.
It
was stunning.
Purdue. That game looked like every other game for a half. It looked really bad and sloppy, and it just looked like things were going to end really poorly for Ryan Walters really soon. And then they just decided to flip the switch, it seemed, in the second half. Illinois helped a little by not looking great in that third quarter, but Purdue put up 46 points after halftime. I would just like to say that into the microphone. 46 points, and becomes the first Big Ten team in 20-something years to score over 40 in a half in the second half and not win the game. Excellent. It's always neat when Purdue makes this sort of history, right?
Excellent. It's always how every record that LeBron or Russell Westbrook broke for a while was held by Oscar Robertson. That's Purdue is always in these record books somewhere. Oscar Robertson is there and Purdue is in these strange.
At least you're getting the record book for not for complete ineptitude. You're not getting in like a 70s or 80s Northwestern sort of record book. You're getting in because you scored a ton, but it wasn't enough. So okay.
If I do my mental math correctly, can I interest you in something else? An interesting point about the number 44, Mr. J Money.
Sure. I don't know where this is going.
Is the total number of points Purdue has scored against Notre Dame, Oregon State, Nebraska, and Wisconsin combined.
Oh dear. That's less than Purdue scored in the second half.
It's wild. It's wild.
Well, and one possession of overtime. Yeah.
And overtime. Yeah, exactly. So I watched the first half from the Upper Cascades, the North Cascades, because a hike got postponed. And I wasn't supposed to watch the first half, but then everybody took nap time, and I was like, instead of enjoying nature, why don't I like how whip out my computer?
We got a message in our group chat very quickly. Anish was saying, I'm not going to see any of this. I'm going to be hiking. I'm going to be away from this. Mental health will prevail. And the next message we got was a picture of his laptop on a windowsill with the nature in the background and Purdue in the foreground, ruining it all.
That's right. It's an illness. It's a sickness. It's an illness, and I have no defense of it whatsoever. But I watched the first half, and it was distressing. But it was also missed opportunities. You could see the kernels of what they were trying to do. There was the patented what's it called? The before halftime, strange 7 points that was given away. This time it was because the wind knocked the kickoff.
That's another tradition like no other.
I mean, and so the kickoff, they mishandled. I suppose they lost in the wind. I've never seen. Even the broadcasters said. Even the broadcasters were like, "You'll never see anything."
Never seen that before. It's basically the outcome was an onside kick, but it was kicked down the field
to the 35-yard line.
I remember doing that in a video game once. I remember receiving and not getting the ball and the other team fell on it. And I was like, oh, it's just like when you do an onside kick. And if you get there first, you get the ball. Well, it's the same rule if you kick it 40 yards down the field. If you happen to get there before the other team, it's your ball.
It's just most people don't do that because that's dumb as rocks. Like, you shouldn't do that. And
it doesn't seem possible.
Jeez. So that was it. And then Illinois immediately goes down, scores 7 more points. And it's like, oh boy, this is going to be a thing. And so even watching the beginning of the third quarter, Illinois opens with another strong drive, right? And what's his name? All I can think of, I kept in my brain because we called him out earlier this year, but Garrett Schrader from Syracuse, who did the same thing to Purdue's offense in orange and blue jerseys, at Syracuse to Purdue's defense. So I kept on kind of, had him in my head as I was watching this game. But what's the quarterback? Luke Altmaier. Yes. Was looking great. I mean, like, he's a fine quarterback. I don't think any of us are opposed to it. No, but nobody is like, he's great. He looked really good, really decisive. That third quarter drive right after halftime, like, his legs were carrying the whole drive. And that's when Purdue goes down, 3 scores, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's like, correct. Yeah, this is
27-3. I think that's 4 scores.
Yeah. Oh, 4. Yeah, because at halftime, I'm sorry, the touchdown, the weird kickoff touchdown put Purdue down 2 scores. Yes, 3 scores. You're right.
Yeah. I will say there were, at least this time around, there were a whole bunch of positives to talk about for a half anyway. Ryan Browne, which Willard Dowd covered this very well in his post game, but Ryan Browne, man, first start, he threw for just under 300 yards on only 18 completions. I think he threw for 3 touchdowns, and he also ran for 118 yards. He had over 400 yards of total offense and no real mistakes, right? No interceptions. He didn't do anything stupid. The worst you could say was there were a couple times where he didn't, and Boiler called this out perfectly, he didn't make the quickest decision. And he was very decisive. He was very decisive all day. There were 1 or 2 times, including on the 2-point conversion attempt to win the game, where he just didn't act quickly. Now, that said, first of all, it was his first start, so he's allowed to be slightly less than superhuman. And let's be honest, he was superhuman. 400-plus yards on the road. That was a great performance.
Oh, yeah.
And I will also say you have to put your players in a position to succeed. They did a better job of that this week.
Huge.
For sure. But they still did things like the 2-point conversion, which apparently was a play that needed a little bit of time to develop because it relied on Browne fading back and, I guess, going through progressions. And this line, I've said this for a couple weeks now, this line has shown you they're not going to protect. And what worked really well on Saturday was quick stuff. Misdirection, quick, like little zone reads and stuff. Either you hand it off or you take it yourself. Brown's an interesting runner. He's a big guy. That stuff worked over and over and over. And the thing that infuriated me in the first half was they had that 4th down. It was like 4th and 1.
Yep.
And after an entire series of running the ball north-south, they throw it laterally out wide and the guy gets tackled. And I had people in the replies saying, well, you gotta break your tackle. I'm like, but what are we doing?
Yeah,
why would you change?
At that point, just lean into the line, right? Like,
just run into it was a yard.
Line. And so, yeah, I mean, like, the 2-point conversion one, I don't know, because like on our perspective, like from the bird's eye perspective, it looked like he had Mockabee in the flat.
He did,
but I do think that the linebacker kind of took that passing lane away or made it a little more just challenging enough that he second guessed himself, and then all of a sudden was 20 yards back, and that's that. But that 4th down pass was like a thing. Like that was a little bit annoying. And meanwhile, here is like one of my takeaways for this is that we've seen the barring the, and we'll talk about the Purdue Superweapon charging for Friday night's game and Ross Ade, but like barring a signature moment from Walters, I don't know if this completely changes the direction of where we all thought the end of the season would go. It's better. It's absolutely better. It's
good to show life.
Exactly. It's one of two things that we asked for, which is be competitive and entertaining, like show
Right.
life, and keep the recruiting class around. Don't lose the recruiting class. Um, Recruiting class is still a little bit rough, but um, that first part or the second part or the first that I named, which was like be competitive on the field, like adjust to your players, like institute a system that plays on their strengths. That is absolutely what the offense did, and Ryan Walters was calling the offense. It's like he had a week to learn the full kind of readout calls, the verbiage. So if you watch his press conference today, he was like the thought process behind it is Justin Simmons
Yeah.
could like he knew all the verbiage immediately, and Walters couldn't do it yet last week, and he gave himself another week, and by that time he was comfortable enough to do it. And this is the thing, is that Walters is it's already proven he's a great recruiter, he's a great salesman, and he's leading the Purdue recruiting efforts. I would say that there's nobody, maybe Kennard, but like for the most part, Ryan Walters is leading the recruit. He's the lead recruiter at Purdue. He's already shown, not at Purdue yet, but he's shown that he can take Missouri and Illinois to elite defenses, like both top 5 defenses, and he is like pseudo calling the plays on defense.
Right.
And then he takes the offensive play calling as well this week. And it's like that's the stuff that makes makes me at least pretty certain that this dude is really smart. That's why I don't like some of the comparisons with some of the past bad Purdue coaches, because like this dude clearly has it, except the way that he got here right now may have included some fatal flaws that he's not going to be able to recover from at Purdue.
Right.
But like if you can go 2 weeks as a full defensive coach, take 2 weeks to learn and call an offense, and then one that puts up a offensive output in one half that surpasses your last 4 games with your backup quarterback. It's like, man, and Boiler Dowd also talked about this. Like the receivers looked better today. They looked in better places to succeed. Tibbs had a great game. Edgerrin had a good second half. He had a bad first half, but he had a good second half. Like there were moments here that show you that. I mean, Maccabee was incredible all game. Love was great all game. That show you that the talent is there.
Exactly.
But and the scheme can be there, but it's like something isn't gelling. It wasn't a lie that we had these expectations in the offseason. Like Walters seems like you can't do this and not be a brilliant kind of, coach. But it's like
Right.
he's just doing this for the first
But
time, and these expectations. So it's like that's part of the thing that's also like frustrating. Is
well,
that
and
man?
head coaches taking over play calling is often what happens in a situation like this, where the wheels are off and it's like, no, I need to take control. And a couple weeks ago, or I think a week or two ago, people were saying to us on this show, they were saying, well, why, can Walters do it? And I think we were all saying, well, no, he's never been an offensive guy. He's never called plays. We were talking about the fact that you got to have somebody who's called plays, and he never has. Well, I'm glad he dispelled that. I'm glad he said, look, to your point, I'm very capable of, I'm a head coach. I can do anything. And that's what I said at the time when we were talking about this. I said, head coach has got to be able to do anything, frankly. That you shouldn't really be a head coach unless you can do all the other things. That's just not how it works. Like because this situation could happen. And he did it. I mean, maybe it took a half, right? Maybe it took a half of him figuring out, okay, here's how we'll do this. And all of a sudden, the other thing about this that has given me some excitement, and I think that could bode well for excitement Friday, is you see how Purdue reacted when a few things went right. A couple breaks. It was still not a good game. Let's be fair. They did not. The defense cannot stop anybody.
Man.
But Purdue had a different life. The way the players looked, the way that the defense, even as badly as they got, scored on, they still looked lively. They were still getting after it. They still almost won the game by generating what some still think was a fumble at the very end there. So, if you do things like that and you do them early before you're down by 3 or 4 scores, all of a sudden you get everybody excited, and energy builds. College football is such an emotional game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the only chance Purdue has, I was thinking about this today, the chance that Purdue has in games like Fridays, and let's be clear, I don't think they have a huge chance. But when Purdue
calling for the upset right
but
now,
when
Purdue beating Oregon under the lights of Ross Ade Stadium.
When Purdue does fire the Purdue Superweapon, I was thinking about this today. You know, a lot of times when teams are outmatched and either commentators or even coaching staffs will say, well, you just want to stay close. You just want to stay within a score because anything can happen as it gets tight and it gets late. That doesn't work for Purdue. That method and that thinking does not work for Purdue, and it won't work for this team for sure. The way that Purdue has done these things when they've done them has been to pop you in the jaw really early and just keep their foot on the throat and just keep doing it. Think about that anytime they've beaten Ohio State, it's been Purdue has just leaned on them the entire game. It's never been like, well, let's get within a score and maybe we'll get lucky in the fourth. Never. That's never works for Purdue. When they knock out top 5 teams, they own them from start to finish. And I know that sounds weird, but if you think about it, and all of you listening, that is how it has worked for Purdue. So when you start watching Friday, if something silly happens, like they pop a ball loose in the first quarter, right, and get a turnover, something like that, that's the kind of thing that has to happen for you to have any real hope in a game like that.
Totally. I mean, and it's true. Even the last 2 times Purdue under Danny Hope played Oregon, right?
Yeah.
And Purdue lost both of them, but they went swing for swing every time.
The game up at Oregon was an amazing. It was a 38-36, I think. That was an amazing game. Like,
I mean, like
fearless.
Fearless. That's the way Purdue plays when they're kind of, in these positions. What it makes me wonder though is that, Hudson Card was clearly in his head, just because of the scheme, because of the line that wasn't giving him time, just everybody on different pages and getting hit, all the time. He was a little skittish, and so but for good reason, I think. And the question is, like, why this offense couldn't? He's got legs. We've seen him be able to run. We've seen him be able to. He's got I think, a better arm than Ryan Browne. He's got a better frame, like a better traditional quarterback frame than him. Like, why it took so long for Purdue to generate this? And really, it does just seem like the scheme, like, overall.
I think some of this could have. I think if Card was healthy, I think the same thing could have played out. And that's not just me being a loyalist to Hudson Card. Like, to your point, he's got the traditional quarterback skills, and we saw last year he can do the running thing too. So if the offense was figured out, because what's the thing that changed? It wasn't just Card. Walter's calling things was also a big change, and the decisions and the types of plays called were very different than what we've been seeing. It was not at all an air raid. It was quick, but it was quick, simple plays, simple stuff. Gash them where it seems to be working. Do misdirection, silly little misdirection, option type misdirection, zone read misdirection, stuff that, okay, if they're not reacting to it and it's getting you yards, and Brown's a big guy, maybe that's the difference with him and Card. I feel like he looks bigger than Card. He's big and kind of a bruiser build where you're not afraid of having him just blast through.
Totally. So, and the other question, so Joe Ensley kind of asks, like, how much of the factor was it that Walters knew kind of Illinois? And maybe, but like, part of this also. So I think I think it must have been Newbert on the on their post game thing said that what really would be nice is if Purdue was playing Northwestern this week, or like, someone in that weight class, like in the non-elite Big Ten weight class, which is like, then you'll be able to really see, how much of this is implementable, and how much of this kind of carries over. Because I think this similar game plan could work against Northwestern, could work against Michigan State. It'll put them, carry.
You can suddenly feel like wins are possible now.
Yeah,
where a week ago you didn't. Because if Purdue can score 50, which they effectively did, if they kick the extra point there in the first possession of overtime, there's a 50 they've put up on the board. Now, if they can do that almost entirely in the second half, yes, it's reasonable for you to think, okay, they can score 30 or 40 in a full game against a lot of teams. Right? Illinois' defense actually is not bad. That's the other funny thing here. It's not like they played one of the worst defensive teams in the Big Ten. They played a decent defensive team.
I mean, I'd say they're better than those teams that we named, like that, Michigan
Yeah.
State, Northwestern. Maybe not better. I mean, definitely not better this year than Indiana. But like those are the games that you have to compete in, right? Or
Yeah.
you have a chance to compete in. And so, the difficult thing is seeing what happens. So if Purdue is competitive and loses, if Purdue wins, like who knows? But we will contemplate that
The
future
fact that we're
when it
even
happens.
saying that
Yeah,
is we wouldn't be. I mean, they're
we
not going
don't
to
do
win.
this.
They're not going to win. But yeah, don't. Too many people. I said to you guys in our chat today. Too many people are aware of this habit of Purdue's. It's now well known. Everyone's making jokes about this. The Purdue, you go into Ross Ade, particularly on a weird night in the dark, in your top 5 team, bad things happen to you. And it's one of those things where it's like the magic only works if it's a surprise. Like you can't there's no way Dan Lanning is unaware of this.
Oh yeah.
Er,
So there was actually like a small moment that I noticed, and then did a little digging on. Um, Walters like was pretty like had an admiration in his voice for Dan Lanning. Said that he knows him. And I was thinking about this. Dan Lanning is an aggressive defensive play caller, an aggressive defensive scheme guy. He's a very young guy. He was, he coached Georgia's defense. He was the defensive coordinator at Georgia under Kirby Smart, another kind of like general manager type of team. And again, like Bert is not Kirby Smart, but he is very much a top-down general manager. Illinois is not Georgia, but there were pros on that defense. That defense was not as good as Georgia's, but it was really good. It was top 5, right? And so it's like you can absolutely see that if Walters could point to another kind of system and say, I would have loved if I'd love if Purdue was them. I think or wherever he goes, I think Georgia is what Oregon, I'm sorry, is what he points to, and Dan Lanning's staff. You also look at Dan Lanning's staff, and it's really young. There aren't any real veterans, kind of, at least now. Maybe in year one, there was one kind of veteran coach, but for the most part, it was an extremely young staff.
mm-hmm.
And so it's like, and Lanning, I think, is a little bit older than Walters, but still, like, I think that is, it's an interesting contrast, and that's kind of only drew from the quick comment that he made in the press conference. But I think that he looks and really admires that Oregon defense, or that the Oregon system. It seems like he knows it really well. He's very familiar with it, but I don't know, man. I mean, somebody was saying that that's a $20 million roster.
I heard that.
And it's like, man, like, Phil Knight, that'll do it, right? Like, those are the kind of resources that will even out, things for a young coaching staff, right? But like they are so talented. They play so. I don't know if you've watched Oregon this year, but they play, other than the Ohio State game, but they play so fast. And I think this similar style of ball control defense is going to be something that they're not going to lean away from. I don't think they're going to start run and gun. But I do think like it's going to be creative. But to your point, like exactly, it has to be.
By the way, to answer your question, the internet is available to us. Dan Lanning was born in April of '86. He is 34.
Oh my gosh.
And Ryan Walters was born in January of '86. 38, not 34, 38. Yep. And Ryan Walters is also 38. So they're born the same year, just a few months apart. And Walters is actually 3 months older. So he's the old man in this matchup. These head coaches meeting that were born in 1986, it makes me feel great. There was, so we had a couple comments over on the side. One was about how brilliant I was a while back, but we don't have to spend time on that. I do think someone else pointed out that not enough was said about Purdue beating a ranked team in a tough environment, or almost beating a ranked team in a tough environment. I think that's fair to raise, but I got to tell you, I've never been afraid of Illinois, and I don't think Purdue ever has been either. No. Like Purdue hadn't lost there in 14 years, which is a funny, hilarious nugget, which means that even the worst Purdue coach of all time didn't lose there. And it's true. The one road game that Darrell Hazel won was at Illinois. Purdue doesn't lose there, and they almost made it stand up this time. It was also pointed out, a couple of people talked about they loved going for it. at the end. I completely agree. Completely agree. And when they scored, I was watching with my son, and I said, "You got to go for 2 right now." And I saw a couple of people in the comments of Boiler Dad's Quickcast saying, well, "Why? You've kicked extra point. You can keep things going." Look, your team has proven they can't stop anybody. You have expended everything, all the gas in the tank to come back and get that close, right? You almost win it. Then they take it back and get the field goal to tie it to send it to overtime. So you've now withstood as much as you can possibly ask your team to withstand. The first play of the first overtime, Illinois scores a 25-yard touchdown. There's no indication that you're going to be able to stop them. And the smart money on that decision is always when you are the road team, you're the underdog, you've made a comeback, you've got the ball in your hands. You can make now. In many teams, if you know you're the, 23.5 point underdog,
Wild.
And you're told, I'll give you one play from the 3 to win the game. Yes, I will take that. Thank you. So I love it. The only reason you wouldn't love it is because it didn't work out. But I still love it. You lose 50-49, and I love everything about it. It's the right decision. Now, someone else said, what do you think was called, and what would it look like if it had worked right? I think is what the question was. I think that there were a number of, I think that Browne was supposed to fall back and the line was supposed to give him 3 or 4 seconds. And he was supposed to have, I'm forgetting the receiver who made the 2-point, the jumping up 2-point.
Oh my gosh. What a catch.
I think you would have had him flaring out across, like coming across the end zone, because you could lead him and try to get it in his hands. And I think Maccabee was one of the other options out in the flat. And I think the thinking is if Maccabee's wide open, you just dump it to him and there's your 2 points. If he's not, you see your receiver is probably going both ways across the end zone, and maybe somebody like Claire parking out towards the back corner where you can toss it where only he can go up and get it. That's what I'm almost sure would have been the play there, because the other thing to think about too with overtime in college now, and I hate this, that they took what was okay and they made it worse by mandating the 2-point conversion bullshit at starting with the third overtime. The problem with that is it's now one play each. And the idea is you're going to end the game quicker, but you're not, because one play, not a set of downs, means you have to have a play that gets you in the end zone. And most teams only have maybe 2 or 3 2-point conversion plays that they really like. Maybe, right? After that, you're basically just running, hey, what's a touchdown play? Which, if you're on the 3, you don't have to score a touchdown if you've got 4 downs. So I don't like that. And what I'm getting at here is you're one more possession away from now going to that complete crapshoot. So let's just end the game. So
100%. And so I was gonna bring up, like, you'd have to go for 2 eventually anyway. Like one more overtime and you're doing this.
So just use it.
Exactly. And can you imagine how you would galvanize the locker room if Walters, like if it would have, and even now, I think like just having
it still
the
made a
guts
huge
to
difference.
do it, right?
Huge difference.
And so it's like you only do that if you believe in the team, right? That's not playing scared, and that is kind of and you could see him in the Walters in the post game presser where he was he was emotional and like he wanted that game and he was like choked up. And like he had to kind of control himself a little bit. And to me, it's like, that's lose that way. Like if we're going to lose, like don't show me the last 4 weeks like this. Like I can deal with a 3-win season, 4-win season if it's this. And the recruiting class is kind of rebuilt and there is kind of a vision that's here, like then I'll take the 38-year-old that learned how to call plays in 9 days and put up one of the most productive halves of football. Even to the Jeff Brom era, that would have been classified as a really, really productive half of football.
Right.
So it's like in a week and a half, he was able to kind of get that feel. He was even talking about being in kind of the players' meetings and things like that, like for the first time, and really seeing how Ryan Browne worked, behind the scenes, and what that quarterback room was like and things like that. Meaning, like, I'm sure that he knows, but like he's not there every day. He's got a team to manage, right?
Right.
And so when you're calling the offense, you're there every day. When you're the offensive coordinator, you're there every day, and that's the thing, like. This dude is simultaneously the offensive coordinator, the de facto defensive coordinator, and the lead recruiter. It's like, man, yeah, he's really good at this. That's why it hurts so much. Like, that's why the last 5 games has been like such a bummer.
But Nish, a part of the job as the CEO head coach is to put people in those positions that make it so you don't have to do all those jobs, right? So the criticism of him, and I think people need to hear us on this, we're not suggesting the criticism is not valid in any way. We think it is. And I saw someone who said, in the end, yeah, it was good. I'm trying to get my camera to can't focus on me.
Back on you.
It knows that I'm better. I look better blurry. Like I saw someone in the comments say something like, "Oh, this doesn't really. I don't think this changes anything." Okay, it probably doesn't if the season plays out 1-11. You're probably right, but like it's still nice that I don't even understand the point of that kind of a comment. Like, would you rather they just look like they did the last few weeks? Like now, if you want to play the negative game, and believe me, this crossed my mind right away. That's the third game of the 5 against non-FCS competition where they've given up 50 or more. So if you want to be angry and say, hey, where's this guy whose strength was defense? What the hell? Like, to me, I don't want to say it's the easiest thing to fix, but if you're a defensive stalwart, like, you should be able to say, look, guys, here's some schemes that will help, that will slow teams down, that will keep teams under, say, 50. Because if Purdue can put up that kind of, that's the thing. Even if you think they can do it against Oregon, guys, they're going to need to score 50.
Yeah.
Because Oregon's going to.
Oh.
So
and they're going to do it fast, and it's going to be brutal. And they are when they are going early in the season, I was really interested in them because this was the team that I think Phil Knight had kind of poured everything into, especially, when the word out was, and who knows how serious this was, but like Alabama, wanted either Lanning or Sark to, take the job first before they went to kind of the two realistic good options, that they had. And Phil Knight kind of ponied up and kept this team around and wanted Lanning to win a title. By the way, that Ohio State win was their first top 5 win ever.
Really?
I heard that repeated over and over again, and because I don't do my own research, I just parrot what other people say. That seems insane.
Oregon played in the national championship game. Did they play way back when it was 1 versus 2? Maybe they did. Because they played in a national title game.
Oh, yeah. But that was, yes, yeah.
That was like Alabama they played or something?
Something, yeah.
But a while ago. Like before there was there was no semifinal for them to win against the top 5 teams.
Exactly.
That's
and
amazing.
The Pac-12, Pac-10 was down. Yeah, and like USC wasn't a juggernaut.
But those years the USC was great with Pete Carroll, I guess they just never. Oregon was good. That's when Chip Kelly was there.
And so it's like that's so strange. Like that you can, that
you know who has a bunch of top 5 wins?
Who?
Your Purdue Boilermakers.
Oh!
They have among the most, actually. I've seen
it's
some
hilarious because you see Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Purdue. It's like, yeah, buddy, we can't win normally, but
if Purdue could schedule an entire season of put Purdue in the SEC, and then you'll see some stuff.
We'll show you.
Not only you want to talk about fun little side nuggets from that game. That was Ryan Day's 5th Big Ten loss ever. 41-5, and it's his first one that wasn't Michigan.
Wow, really?
He's never lost to a Big Ten team besides Michigan.
And so now it's Oregon, which makes sense. Historic Big Ten team, Oregon.
Right, it counts, but it was by a point, and it was on the road, and yet they want to tear his head off.
There was a tweet out there that said Ryan Day is the Michael Jordan of James Franklin's.
I don't like that because
no, but it's hilarious.
Ryan Day is a great coach. Now, there's always somebody who'll be like, "Well, you know that talent, of course." Like, all right, then anybody could coach any talented school.
I was going to say, then tell me why Hugh Freeze sucks at Auburn.
Right. Oh, was Nick Saban not the greatest coach because he had tremendous talent every year? He was great wherever he was. Like,
it's kind of the job, right? Like, get the talent, coach the talent,
that's a
win.
big part of it.
Yeah.
He took over for Urban Meyer and did not miss a beat. And that you think that's easy? Like, it's just
No one else has ever done it.
They're such bratty fans. They're
No
such
one
bratty
else.
fans.
No one else. Urban Meyer, like on paper, might be the second most or third most successful head coach ever. Like, there's Saban, Bear Bryant, and then like there's a really good case for Urban Meyer at third.
Sure.
Nobody has ever taken over for a team that Urban Meyer coached and succeeded immediately.
And had any success. Exactly.
Let alone like competed for national titles without missing a beat.
Every year. He wins 10 or 11 games. I think it's 11 pretty much every single year. And you morons, because they lost by a point at Oregon, a really good Oregon team. Now, and let's not forget, if they had 2 more seconds on the clock, 1 more second, they probably win.
Yeah.
Because what's-his-face slid at like the 29.
Will Howard, yeah.
Yeah. So if they're able to call that timeout, they kick the field goal and they win, and you still hate them. Like,
it's the best. It's the same thing like Tennessee fans, because they aren't.
Oh, they're starting to get mad at Heupel?
Yes, and they aren't getting wins like they want to, and everybody is saying that the SEC defense has figured out Heupel's offense. Okay, send Heupel over to Purdue, please. Like, we would kill for him. Like, build him a statue here, please. We want that offense in West Lafayette. And so it's like, these are the fan bases that are insane, which is why like Oregon this year like interested me, because it was like they are really hungry for this. They are a really great, fan base, and like a really great stadium, at least. I don't really know the extended Oregon fan base. But like, this team is incredible. They had a slow-ish start. Like, they weren't dominant right out of the gate, and now they are hitting their stride. They are like, the last couple weeks, they've been looking like monsters. I really like Dan Lanning. That dude is a beast. It's like, this is concerning.
Oh man,
but
I'd be so excited if Dan Lanning was my coach. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, this is what we thought we were getting. We thought we were getting another Dan Lanning.
We might have, if he would have hired one decent coach, like like with veteran experience. But I don't know. Like, this is kind of to your past point. Like, does a pair of wins, like, I think that now you start to see that, where before, even for me, the sunny optimist here, like, it was hard to see.
It was getting hard to find any light.
It was hard
in
to
the
say,
dark.
like, exactly. It was hard to say, like, this is why.
Were you just going to ask if they get 2 wins? Does it change things?
No, but like now you can ask that seriously, because you can actually see them compete, like using
People
this
aren't
formula.
like this, Anish, but it does change things. If if they look even remotely like they just did offensively the rest of the season, even 60% of the rest of the season, if they look like that and show flashes of that and pull off, say, 2 wins, 2 additional, 2 more, and they get 3 wins and they look like that. And here's the other thing that has to happen. He needs to clean house at the end of the season and say, okay, we're rethinking a lot of things here. And that means Kane goes. That means I'm going to bring in a real defensive coordinator. No offense. Sorry, coach. But we're going to bring in a different offensive coordinator. We're going to bring in someone with experience, like you had talked about, a Dino Babers type, somebody like that. You're going to bring in someone to say, okay, I need the wise sage here in the coach's room. If you did all of that, I can't speak for everyone, and I know that people won't like that, but that would make me think, he's earned something. Like,
I mean, and that's
but there's still a lot more to show in it.
Exactly.
So,
you gotta come through, and that's why like Oregon being this week is tough, because it's like, in all likelihood, Oregon's gonna punch you in the nose.
I like it right now. I like the timing of this. I because they don't need a bye week to figure. They showed they figured out what works, and the players know that too. I am certain the players feel like, oh, we let one slip away. Oh man, we had it right there in our grasp. They feel the same way. So they're going to be up for Friday. They're going to be extremely up.
So,
and you can have a good showing and not win. Again, not to get into moral victories, but you can play Oregon and really make your program proud on a Friday night with everybody watching, because there's
that's
too many
the
games
point.
on.
That's all. Again, this is not a difficult job, in that like expectations that Matt Painter might have expectations, but the football program is like, be entertaining, put a streak of fear into these teams that are coming to Ross Ade, because nobody comes into Ross Ade. and then like make us proud, right? Like have fun on Friday this week with Saturdays, and that's the
on
thing that's
Friday
been
night.
missing. That second half, I had to watch it, on those extended highlights, but like the energy, the frenetic energy of that fourth quarter, where I kind of watched it, knowing what happened, is like that is awesome. And yeah, it sucks and we lost, and it could have been what could have been, right? But part of that also, so I think about the 2 point conversion decision to go for the 2 point conversion instills a belief. It's like I haven't given up on the season.
Right.
The two things that he said, I think in conference today and the one post game was, he was just like, ESPN was on and they got to the Purdue game and they said that Purdue had quit on the season, and that pissed him off. That like put
Wow.
that kind of galvanized the locker room. And then the other thing, I remembered that when he got emotional in the post game was when he said that his players were playing for him to try and to win this, like, and that's where he does this thing where it's like, I couldn't, like I need to draw something better for the last play, I needed to fix these kind of things. He always kind of turned it to him. But you never know what to believe when teams are losing this way and teams are going through this kind of thing. And there's a bunch of noise in the last couple of weeks that had been coming out that wasn't coming out before. But it just so happens that losing like this spurs either rumors or things of like,
It does sow
bad stuff.
discontent.
Exactly. It
It
sows
does.
discontent.
It
And
does.
then it magnifies stories that may not have been magnified before, or it
Right.
creates stories that wouldn't,
Oh,
or
if
it
you have a
creates real
dissatisfied player,
ones.
but you're 6-0, then
Who
okay,
cares?
who
Okay,
cares?
yeah, exactly. Okay. And so now it's like, you can see that this is the type of stuff that at least will shut that down. Because if you have a poisonous locker room too, in addition to being uncompetitive, then that is like, you can't
You
really
cannot.
come from that.
By the way, I don't want to ignore our friend Handel Jones is here. He had a comment earlier. Well, no, let's leave this one up. Yeah. So he said I love this. The Illinois fans were pissed that Walters walked through the marching band performance during halftime. But if that was the energy and attitude that rubbed off on his players, I like it. Oh, no, not the marching band. Like, look, I know there's a lot of people who love the marching band performance at college football games. I think that's wonderful if you enjoy that. And if you were in the band, you have more school spirit than most of us. But like, for the fans to get, that's such an Illinois, is that not the most perfect? That's an Illinois thing to get mad about, right? Like, they're just looking, what can we be angry about? Oh, we walked through the band. You guys don't give a shit about the band. Please stop. You don't care.
And the other funny part of this is that I heard about this on Twitter before I actually saw it.
Disrupted the sanctity of our marching band. How dare you, Ryan Walters?
It literally was as they were walking out, like as they were walking off the field, Purdue started. And so it was like, yeah, they walked through kinda, but it was like they were halfway off the field and the Purdue team started to like come.
And they're lucky that they didn't run through them and mow them down. Get off the field. The field's for football. It's not for band.
It's right there in the name, football field.
Majoring in band. We're majoring in football. I think I have that wrong. Whatever. I like the chip. I agree, Handel. I think that's great. And I think that he's doing the thing that you want, where he's showing the life that you want. And I don't want to say desperation, because it's not desperation. It's like being pissed off. It's like
urgency.
being like,
yeah.
Urgency, right. And I'm pissed now. Okay, I have to do everything, because otherwise the ship is going down. I might as well just grab the wheel here and see if I can right the ship and right the course. So I'd rather that than, again, you said you don't like comparing with some of the worst coaches, such as Hazel. The difference here is you never saw that from Hazel. You never saw I'm pissed, man. This is bothering me. I'm emotional. It was just like nothing. Nothing. That was like, and Hope, a different kind of not so great coach at Purdue, still had positive, happy-go-lucky energy, but he never seemed to be bothered by anything. It just was
And his players, this is where I actually think that, and for me, like I watched games before Tiller, but like I came into true, like I was a basketball fan before Tiller, right?
Right.
And so like the first time I lived and died by Purdue football was Tiller and Breeze. And to me, the only other mediocre coach to compare him to is Hope. And I think like this is closer to that because man, you still see Hope's players caping for him and saying that he was done
Yeah.
wrong and dirty by the thing. And it's like he's a player's coach,
They
and
loved
that's
him.
the one thing. Like
I'm good with that.
they
I love
fired
that.
him with 3 games to go and said you
And then
can
they won all
coach,
3. Then they won all 3.
and he got lifted off of the field like Joe Tiller, and it was like this is the best. And that's the thing. At least just be interesting, be fun. And that was what that half was.
That's also the risk of letting a coach, just as an aside, letting someone not, like when we've talked about how like sometimes coaches get fired when you're like, well, it didn't seem like it was all was lost. And the answer is often like, hey, if they decided they were firing him, then sometimes you fire coaches so they don't coach their way into another season.
Yeah.
Right. And that was a Morgan Burke, like, you know what? We're paying him anyway. Let's let him coach out the season. And then he won and went to a bowl game. And it was like, oh, that's awkward.
Did we let him coach the bowl game?
That happened with that happened in the spring? Was it this past spring or the previous? Because they all run together for me with the NCAA tournament. There was a team that the coach was let go, but he was coached out the season, and then he made it to the tournament, and then I think they advanced around.
I think
it was
hilarious. It was like
Long Beach
State's coach, like that. Why? Why do I know this? Like offhand, I didn't have to look this up at all.
But he got fired, and they were like, "Well, you can coach the conference tournament." And then he won the conference tournament. They're like, "All right, well, I guess you can coach in the NCAA tournament too." It's like that was funny.
And he was their Gene Katie. Like, I mean, he was the guy that coached there for that. I mean, like even bigger. Like he was the guy that established the program and coached them for 2 decades. And then that's how he lost. Like that's how he lost the job. Sports are great, man. It's so stupid. It's awesome.
So someone has asked a couple times. I think it may be one of our friends still visiting from Notre Dame, but they asked a couple times about Card. Yes, he was hurt. I'll answer, even though someone in the comments should have answered this. Yes, Card was injured. He was in concussion protocol. I guess I've never got any detail. I guess from a hit in the Wisconsin game, it wasn't something in practice. So, but I don't remember anything after that game hearing. But that's the other thing. I guess there's no doubt, right, that Browne's starting. Was that asked today in the press conference?
Yeah. Well, so he said that both of them will have things drawn up for it. Like, so what they said was, yeah, we're going to be planning for both of them, but Ryan Browne is going to run it. Like Ryan Browne is going to be our starter. It wouldn't be right. I think that that's only like so that Oregon has to spend some time planning for for Card, but so this isn't the 3-headed quarterback chimera that in the speaking
of
and
reality is you might need Card. You don't know what's going to happen, and if he's healthy enough to play, then you absolutely set some things up for him because you don't know if you're going to need him. I mean, there's a couple scenarios. Browne could get hurt. I don't want to see that happen. But the other thing that could happen is Purdue could be down 42-0 at halftime, and maybe then you say, all right, let's try something different. So, yeah, I think it makes perfect sense to prep for both of them. But yeah, I can't imagine that it won't be Browne's job going forward. And if he plays even this is the thing, Purdue could play really well Friday and still get beat badly. That's the funny thing. They could put up 30 or 40 and lose, and because it's not out of the realm of possibility they could give up 60. They gave up 50 to Illinois. They gave up 52 to Wisconsin.
Yeah, this is a great Oregon team too, and it's be competitive against this team. Truly, be competitive against this team. And coming off of that Illinois game half, and you have momentum again, right?
I meant to ask you, just to be a degenerate for a minute. Did you look, and do you know the line?
I don't actually. No, I do not. Please, okay.
I can. Well, what do you think? What do you think it opened at, and what do you think it currently is?
Oh, good Lord! Okay, what are the highest number of numbers? Okay.
Well, it's not. I will say this. I put a number out. I don't know if you saw this. I put a number on the Twitter machine right before Purdue started their comeback. And I said what Oregon the line was going to open at, just because that's what I felt like putting out there.
Sure.
And I said 33 was going to be the opening line. Now, this is before Purdue played the second half.
So I was going to, because Illinois got to 21, 22, 23.
I think it got to 23.5 at the start of the game.
So that means it's got to be opened above 25. Let's go 26.5.
That's very good. It opened at 28.5.
Oh my goodness. Oh
and
my
it is
God.
currently 27.5.
Because now people are betting the Purdue Superweapon, and I don't like that. Too many people are looking at us. Stop looking at us. You're making me nervous. Stop looking.
The over/under is 58.5, and their favorite. And if it's a 20, so that means okay, like I could see a 38-10, something like that. I think that'd be generous. I feel like
that seems like that doesn't seem like enough points.
48-10. How about that?
Yeah, I think 48-17. I could take it. Maybe get up to 20 against this defense. Yeah, sure, I can take this. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it's like this is the kind of stuff. Oh, and Handel kind of also put it up, but Dylan Gabriel. Again, right now is
everyone's going to be tough to contain. Are you kidding me? This defense, man. It's
the
somebody.
Shout out to these guys. I love these guys. The linebackers are. It's tough, man. Sometimes it's like I love these guys. They're the best people, but man, they are out of place. Let's say they're out of place in the scheme because again, we made the mistake of saying that there were the pass catchers were really suspect, and what we saw this week kind of proved Boiler Down right, which was it's just not being put. The pass catchers are not being put in the if they're not speed demons, then put them in quick hit places where they can start to rack up these rack up easy catches, rack up a little bit of confidence in themselves. And then all of a sudden you get Edrin's crazy, one-handed rebound, basically, that he grabbed for that 2-point conversion, right? But
right.
I don't know, man. It's going to be a thing to cover Dylan Gabriel so linebackers, let's say they're being frequently put out of place. But boy, that's not going to be easy against Dylan Gabriel.
So Jay Lizard says, what motive does Oregon have to run up the score? What do you mean? That's just what Oregon does. That's what college football is. And it still does matter in the sense of getting let's say they don't win the Big Ten. You want to be one of the, I guess, what is it? There's 12. There's a bunch of wild cards, so to speak. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of ranked teams. So after the conference champs, the rest of the playoff field is filled out by the rankings, right?
Plus one group of 5, plus the best group of 5 at least.
Yeah, but I'm saying let's say Oregon does not win the Big Ten, which right now they're in good position to do that, but let's say they don't, then you want to be a highly ranked team so that you definitely get in the playoffs. So part of the way you maintain your ranking is beating the hell out of teams.
Yep.
I mean, if they would have beat Purdue 17-14. That would not look good for them.
No.
It wouldn't be a loss, but it would be like a neutral.
You kind of see this out of Tennessee. It's like Tennessee just keeps winning, but it's these,
people are losing confidence. There's the whole confidence points thing here, right?
It's all all weird juju, right? It's all juju points.
Right. The points are made up.
It's like,
but they do matter.
Dude, it's the feels, man. It's the feels that matter. How fun though would it be if this was the signature moment? Come on, but it's not going to be because this team is so good. But a Friday, and at the very least, we will be with our closest friends in Ross Ade Stadium. It'll be full. It'll be a full blackout. I think it's the Hammer Down to Cancer. I think so. It's the Hammer Down to Cancer game, at least.
Does that mean they're going to be wearing some weird? Now, Boiler Down alluded to some rumors about cool helmets or cool uniforms, or are they going to wear something specific to the Hammer Down Cancer? I don't know.
I gotta be real. I don't like the lime green.
I do not
stuff.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
And
I don't understand it.
You can make a small lime
ribbon.
Green something, but the whole
put the ribbon here. On the corner, put it right on the jersey, or right like a cancer ribbon,
or on the helmet. Put it on the helmet, or weave it in like the rose. There's a design in here that can work, but we don't have to change our colors to black and lime green. Like, we don't have to
Greg
do
gets
it.
the joke, by the way. Made up points. Whose college football playoff is it anyway?
Yes, exactly.
That's Anisha's one of his favorites. Is the lime points are made up and don't matter.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I like it. This is going to be one. It's crazy that Dan Lanning is the same age as Ryan Walters. It's crazy that both of them are 38 years old, and like running Big Ten teams. And one of them at least is coaching a national title contender. But we'll see.
Which one? You don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
Who's
hey,
to
you
say?
went out, and you could sneak in. Who's to say?
By the way, I like your sweatshirt.
Oh, I like your sweatshirt.
Thanks. I got it at Home Field Apparel.
Oh, I got it at Home Field Apparel too.
Wow. How about that? If you enter Boiled25 at checkout, you will get 15% off your first order. So,
it's cold outside and it's brutal.
Oh,
and
I put this on because it's cold here. It's in the 40s in New Jersey.
It's
And
nonsense.
I went out to walk the dog and I was like, man, this is another thing about getting old. I used to be one of those people who was always warm. Always warm. Being fat and old or fat and young, you're always warm. But
just radiating heat.
I've lost a little weight, but it's also that I've gotten older and everything hurts more. The cold bothers me, and you realize why people move to Florida. I get it, or Arizona.
Or like why old people are always wearing sweater vests or
the
zip up
July
guys.
And they're like wearing a cardigan.
Yeah, I don't. I'm always cold. I need to preserve my body.
But anyway, that's why I put this on, and it's because it's a great home field apparel piece of apparel. I think that's the line. And one thing I'll be doing this weekend, because I will be in West Lafayette, is I will be visiting AJ's on Vine Street near the firehouse or station. EatAJ's.com. Go in, yell boiled. You'll get 20% off your order. No, you won't. I'm just kidding. Adam's not here to correct me, though.
Yes, correct.
You'll get good food at fair prices and great service. I just made a new tagline. All that's made up. That's not their tagline, but it's all true.
It's all completely
true.
It's absolutely
such a good experience. And I got to say, that's not just us because they're a sponsor. Every time I go, I'm like, man, this is a good experience every time I come here. I've never come out of there and thought, man, that wasn't delicious. It is always delicious.
I've never come out of there and said, I can run a mile or two.
I feel athletic.
I've never. That is.
Man, who wants to go to the gym? I've never felt that way leaving AJ. That's
but
true.
if you're a college student, like none of this is. You're
no. They would go to the gym.
Exactly.
I would have eaten there and then gone and played basketball when I was.
We talked about your undergraduate pursuits.
That's maybe its own podcast.
I know we have to.
We can tease you all with this. I found my transcript from Purdue, and you know how you all have friends who say, "Oh, I did so badly in college." I promise you, I did worse. I promise.
And Boiler Down was saying this too. It's like, it's not like you're unsuccessful in life. You are very successful in life. That's why we make the money tree jokes. And yet you even said, if your son brings home this report, you don't know how your dad didn't murder you.
I still don't. I still don't understand it because he was very hard on me about grades, and it was legendarily bad. I don't know how I did it. It's one of those where if you look at my transcript, it looks as though I was trying to get thrown out of school. That's what it looks like. I'm not kidding. It looks like I was not only what I was choosing to study, but also what I was then getting in those classes. It looks like someone was pretending they were like
class. This will be one for later. Maybe it's one for the bye week. But it's like, what are the craziest classes? Like, what are the most out there classes you took at Purdue? I have never seen a roster like what you brought out. I mean, like,
someone in our group chat, was it Michael? One of you guys said, I don't think you could go do this today. And I was like, no, of course you couldn't do this today. There's like auditing and things. This was like, it was like a typewriter. They were like, here, you want to take that? Okay, sure. We'll put you in there.
It's tremendous,
man.
It's tremendous. It's like it's just. I mean, I would find it difficult. And again, all of this is funny because you're a very smart and successful person. But like, what in the world was going on, man?
I don't know. That's the thing. Well, you're right. This is for another show. But the Noodle did say, "Did you take the same class 3 times?" I took the same class at least twice, multiple times. Yes. There's one I think I took twice and failed both times, which is really man, that's hard to do because back then, I don't know if it's the same thing now, but you could redline a class. If you took the same class over, you got the new grade and it took the old one off. Now that doesn't work so well when you get a failing grade both times. Doesn't really. It only goes in as one. That's good, I guess. Yeah. Anyway,
I did. I also did. I did retake a class.
I took retake many classes.
Yeah,
had to do that. So this has been great. I think we've kept it. We're not going to make it because we got 20 seconds to go. We could have kept it under an hour. We could have kept it shorter than a quick cast. But oh boy, Q Turner just said Chem 116. You're getting there. You're getting there, Q.
No, these are real classes.
That's when I dropped.
Yeah, but then man, some of them, because I'll tell you, senior year, I took a handful of classes. I've got some stories like that, but I'm not. This is J Money here is the professional. I have nothing. I'll be the sprinkles, but J Money is the Sunday here. This is. It's incredible. If you are willing to share this.
I think that'd be it. I think if you think people would be entertained by it, I think just going through what my GPA, physics 152, man, people are throwing out some of the classics. Was there a more advanced chemistry to Chem 116? Yeah, I think there were things above the 100 level.
One or two. One or two classes. It's fine.
I think it was 115 when I was there. Maybe
115 and 116. So that's first and second semester. Yes.
Oh, okay. I tried 115.
There were two.
I tried 115 for a few weeks when I thought I was pre-med, and then I thought, oh no, and I dropped it, and because it was Chem 111, which was like Chem for dummies, and so I took that one, and that didn't go very well either. But none of them went well. That's the whole point of this story. Nothing went well. There were a few classes that at the very end that dragged me across the finish line.
That's tremendous. Yes, we'll save these. All of you absolutely need to save these stories for when.
I like where everyone's going though. Com 114. I remember that one. Yes. Yeah. Public speaking. Everyone had to take that.
Exactly. That was the big.
That's why we do this. If I didn't take Com 114, I couldn't have this show that makes me many dollars.
That's right. Many dollar. We've almost made $1 on this.
Agreed. That's about, we're almost there.
Yeah, we'll get there soon. We'll frame it. We'll frame all of those.
He was laughing at me now because I said Chem 111. Q, you know. Don't laugh at the dum-dums.
It's fine. So we're going to be in the stands to see this upset. So that'll be fun.
Nice.
We hope to see all of you there. It's the best. This is why you know me. I'm a basketball guy. Basketball season is my favorite season. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. But there is nothing like a all-day tailgate for a night game in Ross Ade against a good opponent. You know that at least some portion of them, at least for a little bit of the game, is what skullduggery is going to happen?
What is this nonsense?
What is going to happen in this place? Is this place truly the place of chaos?
And yes, it is.
The answer is yes. But mostly it's chaos that derails us. And sometimes it derails the other team. But either way, we will have a lovely Friday with all of you lovely folks that will be there with us physically and spiritually. Enjoy our sponsors, enjoy the game, enjoy the life that Purdue has given you back. It's great. Ryan Walters should take a vacation day at some point in the offseason because he's doing every job because apparently no other coach in the building can do any of the jobs. But let's see if he can string it together for a couple more weeks here because that was at least something. So closing thoughts, J Money.
No, you covered it. I love you guys. Good night.